in one dealership we were in, they had a huge multi-speaker intercom system that would just yell at the technicians like, "Hey, your customer's here at the front," and everybody would stop to listen. Then the one technician would always have to stop and go to the front. I was like, "This is the worst system I have ever seen."
The following program features a bunch of doofuses talking about the automotive aftermarket. The stuff we, or our guests may say, do not necessarily reflect the beliefs of our peers, our sponsors, or any other associations we may have. There may be some spicy language in this show, so if you get your feelings hurt easily, you should probably just move along. So without further ado, it's time for Confessions of a Shop Owner, with your host, Mike Allen.
What's up, guys? How are you?
Good. I'm good. Yeah, it's been good.
Excited, Mike. We've seen a lot about your podcast, and so definitely amped to be on it. I appreciate you having us on.
Well, I'm glad to have you here, man. I'm first. I want to know a little bit more about you guys. Before we started recording, I was talking to John about you guys founded your business and have kind of grown your business in North Dakota, which is, I'm going to go out on a limb and say atypical, especially for tech startups. So if you don't mind, tell me a little bit about how you found yourself starting a tech company in the automotive space in North Dakota.
Well, I think the biggest thing that we did when we kind of found our way into the automotive space in general was we had a completely different product that we were selling at first that wasn't even automotive related. And Josh and I started that with one other guy. What was that, 2021, I think? And we were going door to door selling this thing to pretty much anywhere that would let us in. We were very obnoxious and annoying. And as we're just banging on all these doors trying to get people to talk to us, somehow the one group of people that would let us in and hear us out were shop owners. And we would just go to every single one and try to talk to them about what we were doing. And, it's a long story. I know we got time for how we got to North Dakota, but man, the early days on the street with Josh was quite the experience, to say the least.
So you guys don't have any history in automotive prior to Detect Auto?
No, sir, we did not. Nope.
Wow. Okay. Well, give me a little bit, Josh. Well, give me a little bit of background. What have you done prior to this?
Yeah, so I kind of started a business when I was 24 in the service industry, actually. So I was an arborist and had a tree servicing business. So I was outside doing manual labor, building my own company. I had a couple people that I hired working underneath me. So I definitely know the grind of that kind of like blue collar entrepreneurship. I think that kind of heavily relates with automotive, which is great. But working outside in Minnesota, where we were at the time where I met John, you can only work outside like 3 months. The other 10 months of the year, or however many, you're indoors. And so I bumped into John, and but basically it was kind of an entrepreneur from the beginning. I worked for like 2 months, I think, at a business that taught me how to climb these trees. And then I was like, let's try this on our own. So for 3 years, I did tree service. And then I met John because he was like, hey man, starting this cool business, where he haggled me into doing this door-to-door sales. And man, I give props to anybody who's done door-to-door sales before. That is the worst stuff on the planet, especially when you're selling a product that hasn't been validated yet. Like, it is just, it'll put you in the dirt. It is a hard thing to do.
Was this business door-to-door or residential door-to-door?
It was business door-to-door. So we were going from business to business. Okay. We were kind of we were trying to find our ideal customer, and one of them just ended up being automotive. So it was business door-to-door, and it was a slog for sure.
I can only imagine how rude businesses are. I did door-to-door residential sales. I sold educational material for a summer between 2 years of college, and it was savage in and of itself. And if you're going into a busy business where they've got stuff going on, they're stressed out already, and you're trying to interrupt them, I can only imagine. It's got to be terrible.
Yeah, it's pretty rough. But
look, here's the deal. I like to think that I'm pretty good at running an auto repair shop. It's what I've done for 20 plus years, but I'm not good at managing a marketing budget and all the different facets of a truly well-rounded marketing plan. There's mail, there's local advertising, there's website, there's Google AdWords, there's all the different things that go into that, and it's just not what I'm good at. So what I've chosen to do is to buy myself the time to focus on what I am good at, while having someone else execute on all of those things at a way higher level than anything I could ever do. That's what turnkey auto marketing does for me. So if you feel like you could use some of that same magic, I'm going to recommend that you go to turnkeyautomarketing.com, get a free consultation, tell them that I sent you, tell them that Confessions of a Shop Owner sent you. You won't be disappointed.
My name's Arlene, and I'm with Car Doctors in Athens, Georgia.
Take two.
My name's Arlene, and I'm a service advisor at Car Doctors here in Athens. TechMetric looks very, very good and presentable to the customers because it allows us to actually answer their concerns, bundle everything up for them. I can send them an inspection report, they can visually see what we're seeing, and then I can send the estimates as well. So they can see exactly what we're quoting, why we're quoting it, how much everything is. And then I'm also using it to communicate with my technicians. They'll leave me notes, I leave them notes. Everything is all bundled together in one sweet little package. Makes it very convenient and less time consuming, honestly.
One of the funnier parts too was the product we were selling was a fan with a camera in the middle of it. We called it the following fan. And the thing with it was you could basically use it in places where you didn't have air conditioning. So the fan would always track onto you. And as you walked around, it would always point at you. So it was really cool. But as we were going, selling it in the all over the place, we went down to Miami and spent like a month down there just going to every single auto shop we could. And I mean, I don't know what they thought, but I guarantee you when we pulled up with our fan out of like our rental car that none of us fit into, and we're all just trying to like go show them this fan, they must have thought we were the weirdest people they've ever seen.
How much does a face tracking fan cost?
Well, I think when we started, it was like 299. It was a big fan though. It was like a really big pedestal fan that was pretty powerful. And then when we realized no one was going to buy it, we were trying to sell it for whatever they would pay because we
Yeah.
were just trying to get rid
Just
of the
don't make me
inventory at
have
that
a
point.
warehouse full of fans.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what? I can see why auto repair shops would be a client that would buy that, because they're in a stifling place with poor airflow and frequently no air conditioning. Um, you know, I was having a conversation with one of my technicians today about that, about how it was like 100 degrees last week in North Carolina, almost all week. I mean, it was hot across the country last week, but and my biggest shop does not have air conditioning and has decent airflow. It's not a cave, but he was telling me we need to buy a bunch of fans because the ceiling fans in there are a joke. They're like residential fans from somebody got at a Habitat store or something. I don't know. We didn't build the building, so yeah,
I mean,
airflow.
that's why we thought it would be great. That's why we were going to all these automotive shops. It's like one technician or two max is working in a space. They can perfectly be cooling you the whole time. Nobody cared.
Genius,
Nobody,
genius.
nobody cared.
So how did you get into? Well, okay, we'll take a leap forward then. Tell me about the business that you have together now and how you got in that space.
Yeah. So right now, our real focus is how can we just automate things in your day to day, and save time, whether it's in your shop management software, checking in customers, auditing tickets for profitability. It's really just all about how can we save you time in your process that you have to do every day. And we've been building software in the automotive space now for 3.5 years or so, and just kind of working really closely with shops, either in shops or just chatting with them every day. And over time, you get to see these are consistent gaps that we find a lot of shops have issues with, or things that get pushed to the side when you get busy. And so that's kind of where Josh and I and our other co-founder Nate have really gotten going, is we've just continued to talk to shop owners and learn more and more and more about what problems they face, or even we talk to their technicians and figure out what's going on, or even the service advisors, right? We're going all across the board talking about all the problems they have and things they do every day. And you really get to find out across the board, a lot of problems that people face in shops are pretty similar. And we try to automate a lot of those for them.
Copy. And I think I met, Josh, I think I met you at ASTA Expo last year. You had a booth, and I think you were going to be ready to go live like the next week, I think it was.
I mean, we haven't been around that long. Like for what we've been doing with these AI automations, it hasn't even been a year. It's been 10 months.
Yeah.
So the fact that we have 4 tools now, we've been growing fast and moving quick.
Yeah, and I think it's, and obviously I'm a big proponent of what you guys do. Our listeners probably roll their eyes because they hear me talk about it so much. But if somebody's been under a rock and not listening, give me a quick rundown of what those 4 tools are.
Yeah, I would love to. So basically, our bread and butter, the one we've had for the longest amount of time, it researches the vehicle and tells you what maintenance is overdue. So, it's that monotonous task of looking through the history, looking through the Carfax. With us, it's just a click of a button, and the what's overdue in terms of time and mileage is right there in front of you. So that's our first tool, trying to get more gravy working the door.
So on that one, speaking from a customer's perspective, because obviously I am a client of yours, for our listeners, it is searching your local service history, like within your company, and it's searching the Carfax service history. And if you're an MSO and you're using Carfax, and you're already reporting to Carfax, so it's searching your service history at your other locations too, if you have customers that bounce between locations, right? And then you can input your own maintenance schedule. Like, so I go in the backside of Detect Auto and say, I want to recommend service X every 50,000 miles if it hasn't been done. And so it's going to search my history, my other shop's histories, and Carfax service history. And if it doesn't see that service in the last 50,000 miles, it's going to automatically add that to the DVI for me. Did I miss any details on that?
No, I think you hit that dead on the nose. I would say also just coming out right now is we take all of your history across all of your shops. So we're going to be supplying your personal internal history if you're an MSO. Instead of just living through the Carfax or looking through the Carfax, it will be your other shop's actual parts and labor on there too.
Super. So what that's doing from my perspective, one of the things that we're trying to really hone in on is speed of service. I want to be able to go from keys in hand to first discovery conversation to, outbound sales conversation with my customer about what their needs are. I want to shorten that window as much as possible. And so one of the things that takes a big portion of that time is the DVI process and the research and the history process. So that's something that would take 5 minutes to do a thorough history inspection and review in the past from a seasoned advisor or inspector to figure that out, because to know what to look for and what the intervals are. Now it's programmed that's doing it in 30 seconds or less, right? So we're cutting 5, 6, 7 minutes off of every single DVI, which is a huge value. So
we've made it. I appreciate that. We've made it super customizable now as well. You can, when we first started, it was like you have to pick your own shop specific interval, and we're mapping every car to that. But now we've added OEM intervals. We can change all the due soon stuff. You can have variable intervals, like it's due first at 100,000, then every 30 after. We've made so many settings changes that it's very customizable now.
That's awesome. I got to jump into the settings and dig around some more then. You've added more features even since I was last in there. That's great. Talk to me about the service advisor tools for the customer write-up process, because that's the one that gets me the most excited.
Yeah, the nice thing about it is it's super simple. Like, it's the customers coming in and you just type in the concern that they have, and AI generated questions come back, and it gives you 5 very simple, non-technical questions to ask the customer. Just empowering your team, especially if you have a good salesperson up front who isn't very technical, or maybe an unexperienced person up front. It gives them the good questions to ask to get more information out of the customer so that your technicians spend less time dialing vehicles. So
if you're like me, there's always hidden revenue in missed maintenance sales or overlooked customer concerns. Detect Auto helps auto shops unlock that revenue by analyzing vehicle service histories, pinpointing maintenance recommendations, and equipping advisors to confidently address customer questions. It's easy, it integrates with your existing software, and your team will love it. Check out detectauto.com and see how your shop can stop guessing and start selling better service recommendations today.
They're coming in with, a brake noise or just a noise, check engine light, their car won't start. And, I'm sure you guys all know this, but there might be multiple noises. We're trying to help you figure out exactly which one. We don't want those comebacks, to be coming into your shop. So it just helps get more information out of the customer. And then maybe one of the best parts about it is it writes it all up for you as well. So even if you are an experienced service advisor, maybe you've built out those questions in your head that you like to ask, you can fully customize it for yourself. And then you just type in the answers to each and it writes it up all for you, just so you're not missing any of that information. It's all in the customer concern. You're not going back and forth talking with the tech because you forgot to say something.
So there are two reasons I love this. One, for a decade, probably decades, but I've been around coaches a lot for the last decade. Coaches have been saying that you need to have customer questionnaires for diagnostic purposes, because if you want to infuriate a technician, you hand them a ticket that says check smell, or check noise or whatever. I mean, there's a reason that they all want to stab their service advisor occasionally. And so that's why those diagnostic questionnaires were created and passed around and very rarely used effectively. You can integrate that questionnaire into the Detect Auto tool so that, if the service advisor just types in, customer states noise, it's going to ask you all the questions you need to ask and document the customer for the technician's benefit. And it can be your survey, or it can be the tool telling you what questions you should ask. So that's one of those processes that I know we should have had for years that we've never properly integrated, is now part of the write-up process, and it doesn't require a separate piece of paper and the customer with a pen and a clipboard filling out like they're sitting at the doctor's office. None of that. It's all just part of the write-up process. The other thing is I'm starting to look outside of the automotive space to hire front counter personnel, because I want people who are just love people and love solving problems and love helping. And maybe they don't have the greatest automotive knowledge, like you said. And historically that's been a problem, because that's a weakness, not to know what questions to ask. Right. And, he's a listener, so he'll know I'm talking about him, but hired a guy out of the HVAC space recently, and he's killing it. And he's just using that tool to figure out what questions to ask. And, and he's right. It's asking the question and he's writing a 1 or 2 word response to each question. And then when you're done, you summarize, and it's giving a well-written, clearly thought out paragraph to the technician, rather than, something short and not clear. So awesome tool. That's worth the price of admission by itself, if you've got a large front office team or across multiple stores, in my opinion.
We try and make all of our tools something behind our head every time we're making a tool, is just how simple can we make this? And so that's what we think is super, super powerful about, our extension. We integrate directly into your shop management software. So all these features work when you click add concern inside of your shop management software. It automatically pops up. You don't have to go find this file or go to another website. It's part of your natural process inside of your shop management software.
Yeah. All right. What are the other features?
Yeah. So the third tool we call it profitability analysis. It really follows a key metric, GP per hour, build hour. And we follow it per job because we think it's crucial on the individual job to be following. Maybe not as, important when you're looking at month to month, but as in terms of your service advisor making profit on that particular job in RO, it's very easy for you to set goals. So basically what the tool does is you set goals as a shop owner, and then it is calculating whether the ticket is meeting that goal or not, and on each job as well. So basically, it flags how your team is doing, either red, yellow, green, or purple. And it's just a very quick awareness tool. Like, hey, I'm purple on this job. I'm doing really good. I'm crushing it. It's holding up the entire ticket, but the RO is maybe only in the yellow. So, like I can't really negotiate, even though that job's doing really well. Or, hey, I got 3 greens and 1 red, but my ticket's losing money. How is this happening? So it's a very good awareness tool to keep your team on track with your goals.
And you brought that up, and then I immediately pulled up the work in progress screen at one of the shops to see how they're doing, because I know that they've just closed, and it's we're recording this on July 3rd, and so it's effectively the last day of the week for us. And so I'm waiting to see the tickets that are left to bill out. How are we looking? I'm just you just scroll real quick and look for the colors. So it's pretty cool.
We definitely want to make that easier for a manager to like quick high level check all of them. And that's kind of like a next step that we have a focus on. Right now, you have to look into each individual job, and it's very easy to tell once you're in there, but it's harder to audit how you did for the week. And so that is something we are keeping an eye on and want to fix.
Awesome. What else?
The last tool, we just launched this one. It's been in beta for the past like month and a half, 2 months, something like that. This one we're super excited about because we can finally help the technicians a little bit more. And what it does is it helps them write up their findings on their DVI/inspection better, or helps the service advisor go back and clean them up. So basically, you have your front brakes. You mark on your inspection that they're red and they're at 3 millimeter, and maybe that's all they put in, and they write 3 millimeter replace. What this tool does is it analyzes that row. It sees that, hey, you marked it red, or in the brake section they marked it 3 millimeter, and it will take that information and write a better story that makes it more professional, clean grammar, clean spelling, and can give a better reason why the customer should buy that service in the finding.
All right, so I was unaware of this. That's fucking awesome. And I told you I just logged into the shop, and I just pulled up. If you've been listening, you know that I've got a crappy Miata that I'm fixing up for Brian Pollock because he loves Miatas. And I'm opening the inspection.
Okay.
And let's see. It says camshaft caps are leaking oil along the valve cover. Do you guys integrate with Shopware and Techmetric, right?
Those are the two, correct?
And that's that's the bulk of the shops that are trying these days. So how will I then use your tool from within? Do I do it from within the DVI inspection, or do I do it in the estimate screen? Where do I do that?
So while you're on the inspection screen, you should have Detect Auto. There's a little probably blue button on the right side of your screen. If you have that open and you click into the line item, it should say Inspection Finding Writer as a button in the top right of Detect Auto on the side panel. And what it will do is then take that information, incorporate it, rewrite it, and then you can use the chat there on the side to be like, hey, this looks good, or like, hey, make this shorter, or add this detail. And you just have to do little fixes to it, and it'll rewrite it. Or you can say like, hey, change this to Spanish, or make this all cat. You can do whatever you want over there and edit it to you how you like.
I can go through and complete the DVI, and if I have a foreign language customer, I can just say change all this to Tagalog or whatever.
We haven't tried Tagalog, but I do think it works pretty well in Spanish.
I've done Russian a couple times. I don't know what it's saying, but it comes back with something. So
it says need more vodka. Well, that's awesome, guys. I'm excited about that. Rack Attack crew at Carfix, hook it up. Let's check out that tool and make it work, man. That's just one more way to we talk about, and this is not our idea. We got this from the folks down in Houston at Adams Automotive, but a level 10 presentation. We can have the best technicians, the best warranty, using great quality parts. We can have really good customer service. We can have free loaner cars. We can have an amazing facility. But if the quality of the inspection report that we send to the customer is shitty, then we're a shitty shop, right? And so everything's got to be level 10, and we need level 10 presentations to maintain that level. So it's part of the process of getting there. I think that's pretty great. So thank you for that.
Yeah, of course.
Now, I have some questions that are tangentially related to the tools that you're building, but they're more just gossipy for me. So I hope you'll bear with me. So I go to a lot of trade shows as an attendee. You guys are slogging through all of the trade shows now as vendors, and I imagine that it has to be a slog for you guys because it's the same dude at the booth across the hallway from you that it has been for the last 3 months, right? Or the same group of them. And like, there's a core group of people that move around to all the trade shows, and then there's regional folks that come to all of them, right? And then there's like Apex where everybody's there. I know plenty of funny stories about shenanigans and stupid shit that happens at these shows from the attendees' perspective. I want to know, where is the craziest party among the vendors? Because you guys got to throw down because you all know each other.
Well, I'll say this, and it's gonna make me look so lame. After those days, I'm so freaking tired. I just go home and pass out. Like it's exhausting when you're up just kind of talking about what you're doing all day, every day, and you're really excited just to show everybody what you got going on. I mean, it's exhausting. I will say, I think the worst thing Josh and I got up to before an event was we had our buddy's wedding like the day after we had like a big trade show event, and we stayed, I think we were out until like 2 or 3 a.m. And then we had to get up at 5 a.m. to drive 4 hours down from Fargo to Minneapolis. And everyone's passed out in the back of my car. I'm barely alive. I'm doing the drive, and we had to golf. We golfed 18 holes. I think it was one of the worst days of my life. I was like 45 minutes late to his rehearsal dinner. I felt so bad. Just a disaster.
Well, I know that there have been some vendor sponsored events at these trade shows that have gotten police called for noise complaints and for shenanigans. So I fully expect at ASTA Expo this year for you guys to throw a banger at the hotel and just like make waves. So I'm going to need.
We're starting to get to that point. I would say for a while here, we were kind of the small booth on campus. So we were trying to like sneak into everybody else's. They're like, hey, we're going to, Top Golf or something, and we're like sneaking in the back door. But now I would say it's time. Maybe we'll start hosting some events because it could be pretty fun.
You know what we need to do is we need to do a podcast party with Brian and I and all of our sponsors get together.
There you go. We're already preemptively in for that.
And we can just throw down and I'll take all the credit for all the hard work that you guys put into it. It'll be great for one of us.
Perfect.
So are you both going to be able to make it to the expo this year?
Yeah, I think we'll both be there. We might even we just hired our first account executive, Evan, too. So we're probably going to get him out there. So it'll be the three of us.
Did I meet Evan at Tools?
You did, yes. He was there with me. That was week 1 for him. So I just threw him right into the fire.
Well, and he's made it this far. So he's survived the first month and a half or whatever. So
Yep.
I'll tell you what, Tools was a fun time. I haven't been up to Amish country in a little while, and it's a different kind of vibe than like Vegas or Raleigh. So
I was pleasantly surprised. Like I was like driving out into the middle of the country. Like we had kind of booked this, and I was like, where am I going? And then we got there. The conference was great. It was at that big hotel. There was plenty of people there. Obviously, you guys were in those goofy freaking suits. Hard to miss you guys, but
if you guys want to step up your game and come with some ridiculous sport coats and suits, you certainly can. I'm pretty upset that I did not win. I feel like I finished in a comfortable second at Tools, but bringing my A game for the expo. I've got my disco ball shoes. There's going to be some pleather pants involved. Maybe not.
We'll see. Wow. All right.
So, there's you don't have to. It's just the cool kids do.
I might force John. That would get him so far out of his comfort zone that it would be fun for me to watch.
God, I don't even know what to say to that.
Well, I mean, he already gave the very polite and proper political answer to where are the Ragers after the expo, after the shows, because he's freshly married. For all we know, his bride is on the other side of the room, just at a camera range, listening in, making sure that you behave.
She
So,
did actually just get home, so that is true.
well, congratulations on being a newlywed. That's exciting.
Thank you,
Um,
thank you.
condolences to her for your travel schedule.
Yeah,
But
and for having to marry me as well, but that's a different story.
well, we all marry above our weight class. That's for sure. So.
Indeed.
Um, so now I've seen Josh at more events than I've seen you, John. Do you travel more, or you have a little more flexibility in that capacity, or is it just the luck of the draw for me?
Well, you gotta. I'm the single dude of the group,
Yeah,
and I deal with the sales side. So I'm definitely at most of the events, but John's been at plenty. Like it's been a grind fest for both of us over the past couple of years. I think maybe I'm just lucky enough to be the one to see it at those events, but it's been a lot of both of us. But also having a free schedule and not matter. Like I'm in Denver right now. I'm not even at home. Just kind of always traveling. It makes it easy when you're single. So.
fair enough. Fair enough. So you guys know that part of the shtick of my show is talking about train wrecks at the shops, and you guys obviously don't have shops, but you visit shops. Like Josh, you've been visiting shops today, right?
Yep.
I want to hear. I want to hear something. Something that would be informative, educational, and maybe a little bit mocking worthy. And tell us about something that you've learned from, or that you've seen a shop owner learn from recently, if you can.
Hmm. Let me think on this, John. If you got something, go ahead. So I'm thinking from
Yeah.
the shop owner's perspective here on how to better their shop.
Well, clearly the answer is switch to
Detect
TechMetric,
auto.
use Detect Auto, and Hub Shop Solutions. And if you need a coach, go for Elite. Right? That's clearly the way that you should go about it.
There you
Um,
go. I'm trying to think because I know back before we were doing this whole AI automation system, the product we did in between the the fan and this was a camera system where we would install like cameras in shops, or we tap into existing cameras, and then we kind of analyze how work got done in the shop and like understand like who was good at what type of job and work on adjusting workflows and things like that. And it did not really go anywhere. I think we got into like 30 different locations with it.
that's
But
some Big Brother shit right there, man.
no, it absolutely was. And I think
I bet technicians hated it.
well, I was just going to say it was kind of related to your question, but when we got up, we did an install up in Edmonton, was Alberta, I think, right, Josh?
Yeah.
And and they I mean, I don't know what you can say or can't say on this podcast here, but they were saying some of the most disrespectful things to us when we were in that store. And then the other one that was great too is when we were in our probably our first customer in Denver, actually the shop Josh is visiting right now. They were looking at us climbing up on the ladders, and they were going like, "Mike Wazowski, always watching." The whole time we were up there. And it's kind of brutal, but I will say though, you got to see a lot about like what people were really good at and what they weren't good at. And one of the things that people frequently struggled with was dispatching and getting work like fairly assigned to technicians. We saw so many times how it would just be unconsciously or consciously certain techs just got the better jobs, and it caused a lot of problems. I mean, Josh, I know that we talk about this all the time with like new things we want to build on the dispatching front too, but man, there were just so many issues where
Was that tool
unconsciously.
able to recognize that and analyze it and report that?
Yeah, so like the early stages of it, we were actually looking at like who was getting the easy jobs, who was best at what type of job, so we could ultimately figure out like who should get this electrical job, or if there's something related to like maintenance jobs or certain subsets of maintenance, if you're doing fluid exchanges or whatnot. We were trying to map all that out to see who was good at what, and then what should the optimal way to do these jobs be, so we can
You're
make
trying
your
to
whole
create an
shop more
AI
efficient.
dispatcher then.
Yeah, exactly.
That's badass.
It was.
Because I mean,
Yeah.
one of the biggest complaints that you get from technicians when I interview a fair number of technicians is dispatch is done unfairly, or
Yep.
the people play favorites, or they feed this guy tickets and they, or whatever it might be. If you had the analytics and the data to back it up, that would be pretty slick, man.
It was an intense problem to solve, though. That it was not easy. Those job efficiency numbers on like how long each technician was spending on each job, like is that the right technician? What are you getting pulling the right vehicle? Like it was. I mean, thank God we aren't doing that anymore. That was one, a hard product, but two, I felt so bad going into some of these shops with that, big brother mentality. You're just like, these guys hate us. So thank you, John, for thinking of all these ideas we have, and Nate. But it is thank you for what we're doing now. I would say one thing I noticed was communication in a shop is something we're trying to improve, but also like everybody's trying to improve it. Like I don't know if there's like a great answer for it. I've seen Slack. I've seen you walking up in front to the back. I've seen walkie talkies. It seems like there's always like somebody's trying to figure out the best way for their situation. In one dealership we were in, they had a huge multi-speaker intercom system that would just yell at the technicians like, hey, your customer's here at the front, and everybody would stop to listen. Then the one technician would always have to stop and go to the front. I was like, this is the worst system I have ever seen.
That's
And
totally the system my dad had in his 18 bay shop when I was growing up. You'd pick up the phone, you'd hit line 5 and it'd go, doop, and then everyone would stop and listen, and then you'd call who you're calling, or, John line 4 or whatever it might be, right? And it was absolutely a distraction, and everybody would stop what they were doing because the speakers were shitty and it was a loud environment. You'd have to squint to hear. You know how you have to squint sometimes to be able to hear something. But anyway, yeah, that's the worst. We try to use Slack to varying degrees of effectiveness. Some people are really effective at responding and monitoring, and other people will ignore it. So
I mean, it was I was in a shop today, like I was saying, and we were talking about communication, and they're walking back and forth a lot of times. But I was asking this older guy who's been at tech for 20 something years, and he's like, I don't look at my phone. I don't. When I'm working on a car, he's hands on, and he's like, if you message me, I'm not replying. And I was like, well, this wouldn't work then for that situation. You have something would have to change here.
I was at Dick's Sporting Goods the other day, and every associate has an earpiece in and a walkie-talkie on their hip, and they can talk back and forth. And I thought, well, that would be cool, and that be clear. But the problem with that is, 15 dudes spread across the shop, and they're going to be chatty Cathy and talking shit to each other back, and it's going to become a distraction to the point that people are going to pull earpieces out and then not hear when they're actually needed. I don't know a solution. You need to work that into the next iteration. The next tool is the flawless, perfect omni-channel communication tool.
Don't spill the beans yet. It might be coming sooner than you think. Yeah.
Awesome. Cool, guys. I really appreciate you hanging out and spending time with us. I like the idea of a confessions party at the ASTA Expo. Got to find the place and time, but there's tons of cool spaces within a block or two of that because it's right in downtown Raleigh, so it's very walkable to lots of good restaurants and bars and entertainment complexes. So maybe we can work something out. That'll be fun.
You can preemptively count us as a partial sponsor of that event. I'm down for that. That sounds like a good time.
I support this. All right, super.
Excellent.
Thanks, guys. I appreciate you coming on.
Yeah,
awesome.
It was great, Mike.
Thanks,
you.
Mike.